We begin with breaking news right now as we are standing by for a press conference on the Washington mudslide, which has killed 14 people, more than 170 names on the unaccounted for list. Walk with me over here. I want to show you this motorcycle, revealing new details about information that was kept from the public. New information in a multi-state murder spree. There's been no sign of life. They did not find anyone alive today. They did recover 2 additional bodies, and we continue to follow breaking news tonight. We are still standing by for the press conference. Police say 2 suspects break in and set a fire in the middle of the pizzeria as frightened employees hid in the basement. Many of you are asking, how can the city afford 2 big purchases during a budget gap? We sent News Source 16's Ricky Marinon to the mayor's office today to find some answers. Rescuers are using small bulldozers, even their bare hands, to look for victims and survivors. Now to the latest on Ukraine. Despite Vladimir Putin's promise not to invade his deeply divided neighboring nation, thousands of Russian troops are in fact in southern Ukraine tonight. We contacted the district attorney's office requesting an interview with DA Alex Gardner, but we are still waiting to hear back. He sent out this email, though, which provides some insight into the reason Ricardo Cheney was not prosecuted. Right now, Australian authorities say they are sending all available ships and aircraft to try and find 2 objects that were spotted on satellite images in the Indian Ocean. Now, they describe this as a promising, credible lead that the objects may be related to the missing Malaysia Airlines plane. Breaking news right now, 2 additional bodies were recovered in the Washington mudslide. Officials also saying 8 additional bodies have been found, which have yet to be recovered. That does bring the death toll up to 24 out of this devastating landslide.
Amanda, obviously everyone is just shocked by these allegations.
Yeah, of course, Ty. This is actually the second sex abuse allegation involving an employee of an Oregon school in just the last 2 days. This one involving 29-year-old athletic trainer Timothy Schlein. Now, this is a look at his Facebook photo. He is accused of sexually abusing a student here at Willamette High School.
With the Sochi Winter Olympic Games in full swing now, we've been talking a lot about the athletes on Team USA.
Yeah, but there are some local athletes that have been training since last October to go for gold of their own. And they've been kind enough to let me tag along on their journey.
Let me win, but if I do not win, let me be brave in the attempt.
Hands forward, weight over your skis, always look downhill.
It's a beautiful Sunday morning at Willamette Pass with an incredible view at its highest point. That's where you'll find them, on black diamond runs. You can't miss their bright yellow vests, glowing that much more with the sunshine on their backs. They've been waiting for this moment for months, but you'd never guess they were out of practice, taking on a sport that's both physically and mentally challenging, dealing with heights and maneuvers on runs only experienced skiers can tackle. It's when Danny Wells takes his helmet off that you can see he has Down syndrome, what some people call a disability. But ask his mother, Special Olympics coach Penny Wells, and she'll tell you they've never focused on what Danny couldn't do. In fact, Danny was on skis before he could even walk at 15 months.
We rented the smallest boots and the smallest skis that you could rent, and we put them in the boots on a little bit of an incline.
Next month, he's going for gold, only that incline is just a little bit higher at Mount Bachelor for the Oregon Special Olympic Winter Games.
First place, that is.
First place?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going for?
Yes.
The local group has been dry land training since October.
How about to the right?
Keeping active.
Cross your fingers, say a prayer for snow.
Until this moment when they could feel the snow beneath their skis and snowboards.
I have one athlete that follows me through the trees in the deep snow.
Coach Virgil Cool has been teaching competitors like Danny since 1984, but he's not surprised by their abilities because he's seen firsthand the work that goes into it.
You know, you work with them till they're confident enough to move up to another level, and you push them just a little bit.
He's got the GoPro. He's ready to go.
I'm ready to go, yep.
Snowboarder Tony Davis knows the feeling.
At first I was afraid to fall in, but now I'm like, I fall.
But instead of taking a tumble, he rose to the top, taking home gold last year.
It was really exciting. I was all, it was just, it was, I don't know how to explain it. It was just awesome.
Awesome must run in the family. Tony's sister Beth, who has autism, made it all the way to the world's competition as a snowshoer.
It was really fun. You've got to meet people from all over the world.
but she'd rather talk about her brother and his achievements.
Yeah, he's done a lot, so I'm proud of him.
Now, when I ask the competitors what they love about being on the mountain so much, they say that they feel free. And how can you not feel free when you have a view like this?
You get hooked. It's real easy. The athletes are great, warm, and thankful group of people.
And of course, not everyone can win a medal.
And what's even neater is to watch them console somebody who didn't get one, to athlete. They're so supportive.
That's when you really see something special. Special, by definition, better, greater, or otherwise different from what is usual. At good pace, Tony stops. Stops not because he can't keep going, but because a fellow teammate hit an icy patch, a bump in the road.
Got it? You okay? All right, have fun.
A moment he likely didn't give a second thought. One he probably thought we'd never even stumble across in our hour of collective GoPro footage, but one that really captures the essence of his good-hearted nature. Tony did this every single time someone fell along the way.
I think people with special needs are more rounded than we are because they don't see the stereotypes that we see and the judgments that we put on people. They don't do that.
While more talented on the snow than many could ever be, the #1 skill Danny, Tony, Beth, and their teammates seem to have the ability to focus on the present.
Enjoy this beautiful weather and skiing.
Good. This is awesome.
To realize that life is more about the moments you share than the victories you celebrate. And you can take the plunge yourself, live in the moment, and jump into the freezing cold water along with these competitors, but you will have to wait a little bit longer. The annual Polar Plunge in Eugene, which benefits the Special Olympics, was set for tomorrow, but it's being rescheduled because of the snowy conditions and high winds outside. As soon as we get the new date, we will be sure to pass it along to you. And for information on how you can register, just head to KMTR.com. And by the way, Ty, the Special Olympics Winter Games set for March 7th through the 9th at Mount Bachelor. Of course, we'll keep you posted how they all do. Ty, the Springfield family says their son admits to acting up in class, even yelling at his teachers and kicking a trash can. But when they were notified and he came home with marks on his back, arms, and shoulders, they say efforts to calm their son may have gone a little too far. And it's raising some questions about the training of Springfield school staff when it comes to children with mental health issues.
When I got home, I asked him why he had all these marks on him, and he said that the principal had done it.
Lotrivas Walker says her 12-year-old son, Brian, came home from Briggs Middle School with numerous scratches and red marks on his back, bruises, one in the shape of fingerprints on his arms and shoulders.
At first, I thought he had wrecked his bike or done something out playing, but then he told me what happened, and of course, as a mother, I was very angry and upset.
As for what really happened in what's called the tab room or the take a break room Friday, February 14th, both sides paint a different picture. Brian admits he was sent there after he acted up in class when it was time to take a test. He also says he lost control, started screaming and yelling when the tab room instructor told him he still had to take that test.
And I got really mad, and then I kicked the trash can.
As Brian's anger grew, he says the principal showed up and Brian ran for the door to try and leave.
I started running, and then he tackled me to the ground.
Now, Brian's parents say they understand restraining Brian. They're not taking issue with the use of force, rather the amount of force that Brian says was used by Principal Jeff Mather.
He just grabbed on right here with his arm and then pushed me to the ground, and then he had his knee into my back, and then his other knee into right here. And then he just shoved my head onto the ground.
We tried repeatedly to get the district to share their side of this. We really wanted to be as fair as possible. A spokeswoman did say, quote, "As with any situation involving a student, we actively attempt to work with families and staff to assess issues and find a resolution." But this so-labeled physical restraint incident form given to us by Brian's mother shows the district's investigation. The report says after failed attempts to verbally calm him down, Brian ran at the principal, quote, possibly to exit the room. But even the report itself provides a conflicting description of the events that unfolded next. This line saying, quote, "The principal blocked the exit and wrapped his arms around the student. The student was guided to the ground and held by his upper arms by the principal," On the very same page, though, the report later refers to the restraint as a, quote, standing side body hug that says the student was struggling to the extent that the student and the principal lost their footing and the student fell to the ground. Local psychologist Dr. Ryan Scott says Brian's case represents similar incidents unfolding in schools across the country, a conundrum for educators dealing with special needs children in mainstream classrooms.
Even the best caregivers, whether it be school staff or parents, just really struggling how to handle all that.
Brian's parents say he was diagnosed with ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, in the 3rd grade. While Dr. Scott does not treat Brian, he offered some insight into the disorder.
When the behaviors are really extreme, when the tantrums last longer than usual, when there's kind of a vindictiveness to it, when there's a tendency to really try to poke at people to get them agitated and aggravated.
Brian's father says they've learned it's best to isolate Brian and give him time to calm down.
You know, I've dealt with him, you know, having fits at home and stuff, and I've controlled him, and I've never left a mark on him.
The Walkers say what's most troubling to them is the handling of the alleged incident after it happened. Brian says the principal just sent him back to class once he calmed down, and his mother tells me that she wasn't even notified anything had happened until the school left a voicemail about 4 p.m.
I think he should have called us. I mean, even after he realized he left marks, too, he should have called us.
He's only a 98-pound boy. It doesn't take a full-grown man to hold him physically down on the ground enough to leave bruises.
The report says injuries were not noted, but the student had finger marks on upper arm. Are you scared to go back to school?
A little.
What makes you scared?
I'm afraid I'm going to get in more trouble, like, because I told and stuff.
The Walkers say they understand their son is tough to work with, but they were surprised to learn in a meeting with the district that the principal, though previously trained, did not receive the required man system training this year, which informs educators how to properly intervene in these types of situations.
Maybe some further training on how to deal with issues like this.
The Walkers say they hope out of this incident comes a realization of how important training is for staff dealing with students with mental health issues. Now, Brian's mother tells me he will return to Briggs Middle School. The report states that the team will develop a behavior plan and document clear strategies to address explosive behaviors in the future. Now, by the way, the Walkers did file a police report. Springfield police say they plan to interview everyone involved, but they are deferring to the district.